In this video, I will be configuring the hydraulic settings for pond and low impact development feature definitions. Starting with a pond, I'm going to be creating a hydraulic prototype for the pond. So over here in my prototype dialog, I'll create a new prototype, rename it, and then go over and start setting up the settings here. For the pond seepage method, this is going to depend on your agency. If you choose one of these methods, then you're going to have an additional parameter that you'll need to input in. For this example, I'm going to choose none. And then for the volume type, I'm going to opt with elevation area. If you want more information on the different types available, you can go to the help here. And here we have more information on all the different volume types. I'm going to be opting for the elevation area, and this is going to be compatible if I model the pond using open roads. I will be able, and have a terrain model for that pond, I'll be able to calculate the volume of that pond from that terrain model. Then the initial elevation type. So we have two options here. We can either do invert or user-defined initial elevation, which will then allow the user to input that initial elevation. I'm going to set this to invert, and this can always be changed per pond if they want it differently. And then if you had anything with water quality, you would input those values down here, as well as an evaporation factor. And that's all there is to the ponds. So then I'm going to go over here and assign that pond prototype. And next we'll look at the low impact developments, or LIDs. Here on my screen, I've done a Google image search for low impact developments just to give some examples of what those are going to look like. So you're going to want to identify what type of low impact developments that your agency uses, and then on top of that you're going to want to identify what layers are included in those so that we know what type of control that you need to set up in your workspace. And a great place to start is actually in the delivered workspace. They have some examples already in there. So I'll take a look at this bioretention first, and we have a low impact development control, and this is going to be a library of different controls, and this is the library that you would want to probably copy from the delivered workspace, or if your agency has their own types of controls that they use, you would create your own and then fill them out. Now, depending on the control type, you're going to get different types of layers. So you'll either have a surface layer, pavement, soil, storage, under drain, or a drainage mat. So depending on what type of LID control you are wanting to create, then you're going to pick one of these options from the list. And when you're filling this out, the design of the control is made on a per unit area basis so that it can be placed in any number of subcatchments at different sizes or number of replicates. So keep that in mind as you're putting these values in. So here in the delivered workspace, I'm going to select these low impact development controls, and I'm going to export them out to an XML library. So create a new library. I'll call this Bentley Delivered LID, and then I'm going to import those 7 into that XML. Now going back to the DGNlib that I'm setting up, I'm going to go and import from library, and then select that XML that I've just created to bring those in. And then from here I can rename them or make changes as I need, but this is a good starting place. And now as I create these different low impact development hydraulic prototypes, now I can use that drop down to assign. And then once I get all of these hydraulic prototypes created, I'll go over to the feature definitions and assign those prototypes for each one.